As the Empire's power grows, rebels face a choice. Give in or fight. Some form pockets of resistance on battleground planets. Some go undercover, trying to fight the Empire from within. And others watch and wait. For Ferrus Olin, hatred of the Empire is personal. The things that have been closest to him have been destroyed. The Jedi Order he once belonged to has been decimated, and the future isn't looking much brighter, unless a true rebellion can be born.
Hello, younglings, and welcome back to the Padawan Library, the Star Wars Junior Novel Podcast. I am Junior Jedi Librarian Levi Paratic, and with me, Junior Jedi Librarian Tim May.
It's me.
And this week, Padawans, we are reading Star Wars Last of the Jedi number 8, Against the Empire by Jude Watson. So we're getting close to the end of Last of the Jedi.
So
it's going to be bittersweet. But
before we do that, our opening segment today is going to be all about Last of the Jedi.
The whole Last of the Jedi episode.
No off-topic bullshit this time. We had been talking. And you had come up with this great idea of doing a fan casting of Last of the Jedi as if it were a movie or a television series.
Yes, Last of the Jedi, a Star Wars story,
yes.
Of course.
So I figured what we should do is just go through each character, and each of us give our picks. So I will say this. Personally, I chose to pretend as if it was happening right now.
Okay.
So, I tried to keep the ages, basically in check. So,
now the way I did it was I tried to think of it as 2005.
Oh, at the time.
Now this isn't going to go for all the casting. Yeah, but for the fact that Ferris is about the same age as Anakin, I wanted an actor who was
roughly
the similar
the
age as Hayden. Yeah.
Well,
so
I did keep those ages in mind, but I figured it'd be as if this were happening right now. So
okay, that's smart too. So, you want to start with minor characters and work our way up to
why don't we start with Clive?
Clive, okay.
Clive. Now, if you don't remember, Clive is a guy who thinks he's suave. Kind of seemingly has a thing for Astri. But yeah, clearly British because his name is Clive. So, or from the United Kingdom anyway.
Right.
So, who do you have for Clive?
I have Tom Hardy as Clive. Because I was thinking about, okay, this guy thinks he's cool, but he's really not. Who's like that? And for whatever reason, Tom Hardy in Inception popped into my mind. Okay. So you remember him in that?
So he's great in that. I went somebody who's probably, you and I probably would think is definitely more just actually cool. But he can play kind of goofy too. So I went with the great Colin Farrell.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay, that's
that?
Very fun because Colin Farrell shows up on my list somewhere else,
sure
but another character,
possibly with different characters. So that'll be fun. All right, go ahead.
He's great as a silly guy, so I love it when he does silly roles.
But he can also be serious, in this book that we're going to talk about today, where he has more of a kind of a serious mission.
Yep.
All right, so. So let's go with Kuran, because Kuran is a character I barely know at all, and I can't really say much about them, but
well, with this casting of this character, I had some fun because like with this character, I really associate him with Keats.
Mm-hmm.
So Keats Freely. So I wanted to think of the two of them together in like kind of like a buddy cop capacity.
Yeah.
But Curran is fun because like he's just like a voice actor character. Obviously, there's another actor that plays him in the little fur.
Yeah, but Snivian could be like a motion capture thing. So I wanted somebody that could play Snively. That was my thing. Okay. And Snivian. By the way, there's a character in the Knights of the Old Republic Dark Horse comic book series who's a Snivian. So I have like I know what he'd look like roughly, so I was trying to imagine an actor I would want to see looking like that.
Okay.
Do you have your actor? Did you?
Yeah, I have mine. I picked Sam Levine.
Oh, from Freaks and Geeks. That is incredible. Freaks and Geeks and Inglourious Basterds, the two things he's ever been in.
Inglourious Basterds, of course. Yeah. That voiceover in Wet Hot American Summer, of course.
Uncredited, of course. That's great. I like that one. I love Sam Levine. I went with Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, nice.
Who I love,
he's
actually.
So
like
snivelly.
One of my favorite actors, like in like
great.
Kind of our generation, like easily one of my favorite actors. But yeah, just I just thought.
Well, he has to like. Korean has to be like somebody who possesses like intellect because like he was like a senatorial aide, that kind of thing. So he knows politics. So yeah, those are both good castings.
You wanted us to cast a couple people for flashback scenes,
right?
Specifically, Jedi Master Siri and Didi Odo, who is Astri's father.
Right.
Do you want to do those first?
Let's do Keats real quick because I associate Keats and Curran together. So who's your
Okay,
Keats?
This is funny because I mostly avoided picking people that had been in Star Wars projects before. But I picked Richard E. Grant.
Oh!
Because he deserves a better role.
I agree.
And,
as like a... See, I picked a bigger actor than Grant. I picked Edward Norton.
Ooh! I like that.
So yeah, I was thinking of like Edward Norton and that banter between him and Sam Levine would be really
fun.
A
lot of fun together, actually. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I like that. Okay, I picked a lot of big names. Like, there's a lot of big names coming up on mine. There's one that I think you'll love. Anyway, so let's go. Let's actually stay in the kind of Odo area. So let's start with Didi, since he'd only be in flashbacks. Who did you select for Didi Odo?
Okay. With Didi, I always pictured Didi as being really short.
Okay.
And I could only come up with two short actors.
Oh,
and
there's other short actors.
There's other short actors, but I could only come up with two. The first one, of course, is Danny DeVito. Like, I feel like that's the most typecasting of DeVito possible.
He could do it, but...
He could do it. Yeah. But then the second one is, since Astri is adopted... They don't need to look like each other.
I forgot she was adopted. That makes my casting better.
So they don't need to look like each other. So the other short actor that I thought of, who we'd put an old person makeup, of course, Kevin Hart is who I put as Didi.
Oh my god! Well, he could maybe. I can enjoy Kevin Hart on some level.
Well, I just watched Jumanji: The Next Level.
Yeah, I saw that.
Didn't like it as much as the first one.
But there's some.
But
I liked Kevin Hart is the best part of that movie.
Well, he spends the entire movie doing his old man
Danny
impression.
Glover
his Danny Glover.
I actually thought, I was shocked. I thought he was easily the best part of the movie. Like, I laughed at nearly everything he said. The worst part of the movie is The Rock trying to do DeVito is so bad. Oh,
because he's like a New York cabbie.
Yeah,
he's just
so
bad.
He's
not even DeVito. It's so bad.
Anyway, whatever. All right, so Didi Odo, you have Kevin Hart. I went in a different direction. I got the great John Turturro in this role.
Wow.
John Turturro, one of our greatest character actors of all time, obviously appeared in great films by Spike Lee, the Coen Brothers, etc. He's a genius, one of the greats. So, and I think he has that. He can play lots of different types of characters, kind of rough around the edges guys too.
and not only that too, but like Disney movies, especially in these secondary Star Wars roles, they are not afraid to cast big names. So like Forrest Whitaker, John Turturro, they're on that same level.
Yeah.
So
all right, so we got Didi Odo cast now. Let's just go right into Astria. Let's do a major character. Astria Odo. Now, I was trying to think, okay, so she's roughly Obi-Wan. She's older than Obi-Wan. A little older than Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
So I was like, so she's got to be a little older than Obi-Wan was in Sith. Or appear that way. So that's what I was thinking, but why don't you go ahead with your...
Okay, I had two. The one's a younger version, okay? Linda Cardellini. I was thinking about Freaks and Geeks, thought of Linda Cardellini, and I was just... she's good. My other one was, because thinking of, like, who can kick ass but play, like, a great mom, because that's where we're at in the series, is, she's in mom mode, but, like, we know that kick ass of Astria is coming out soon. So I thought of Jennifer Garner.
Okay. I'm a big Alias fan from back in the day. That's
what I was thinking.
I can see that. This is what I did, though. I went in a very different direction, I think.
Okay.
I decided Astria is one of my favorite characters in all of expanded universe Star Wars. I love Astria. My favorite. I decided, why not just give her to my favorite working actress?
Okay.
Amy Adams.
That's Amy Adams shows up on my list elsewhere. Amy Adams is great.
But I just thought Amy Adams has exactly what you're talking about. She can be like really like cool and like hard, like look at like American Hustle or something like that, and then like but she can also like obviously be very like nurturing, motherly. You look at a lot of different roles. So I love Amy Adams. She's my favorite. So
that's a good one. So
then let's go with Astria's ex-husband.
Okay.
Bob Davinian.
All right. This is where I put my first...
The casting budget on this movie is huge for me.
It's huge.
I got like the biggest stars, baby.
This is where I put Colin Farrell, because like I put he could be kind of a villain, but I thought of somebody else too, and I didn't tell you. I went because Tenet is coming out. There was a theater near me that was playing Inception, Interstellar, and The Dark Knight. Like before, so I went and saw Dark Knight again, and I thought, who could be a good Bog? Because, like, he's got this funny hair thing going. His hair kind of looks like it doesn't belong on his head. Could be a good politician. Aaron Eckhart.
Sure, that works.
Because he works as a villain, too. There's some little things about the Two-Face performance that aren't great, but,
All right. I'm picking one of the biggest stars in the world right now. One of the...
Yeah.
Coming hot off his directorial debut.
Who?
Bradley Cooper.
Oh, wow. Your budget is so high.
I love B. Coops.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I used to hate him. I love him now.
Yeah. And funny thing is, too, I heard recently him and Jennifer Garner have been seen together.
Oh, wow.
So,
that is crazy.
Shit. Bog and Astria together.
Mix our cast together. All right. Okay, so the other character related directly to Astria is Loon. I didn't really have...
Right.
Frankly.
I didn't either.
Because Loon is 8 years old. I don't know. I'm not up on the current child stars. Just cast a good kid and let him have a fun summer, and then send him back home to his parents, and don't let him be in fucking movies.
Exactly. The only kid, the kid I was thinking of Loon, like in my head, Loon has like really blonde hair, so I was thinking of the kid from Close Encounters, but like a little older.
Yeah, but
that's what I was thinking for Loon.
This is a temporal like experiment we're working on.
I know. All right.
So that kid's like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah, he's super
All right,
young.
so let's do our other flashback character. So
Siri,
Master Siri. who is Ferris's master. I know she has blonde hair. That's really the only thing I feel like I had to follow. I didn't go as hard with the star power here.
Okay.
But I picked an actress I love, and actually more so a director I love. She made the great documentary Stories We Tell, and she also made, Take This Waltz with Michelle Williams and Seth Rogen, and Away From Her. Great director, also very good actress. Sarah Polley is my choice.
Okay, all right. You talking about that made me think of somebody else for this role too, which would be... So I picked blonde. I'm like, well, obviously Scarlett Johansson for that role, but like Scarlett seems a little too rough for Suri. You know, Suri's got that edge around her, and you just talking about a director made me think of another director actress, Greta Gerwig.
I love Greta. You know how I feel about Greta. I just don't think she can pull off the kind of hardened thing.
Okay, all right.
Siri can be... I mean, remember, Siri did that whole undercover mission, and like I don't know, the hardened... And I love Greta Gerwig, but she's just so lovable, is like kind of her on-screen presence is her kind of like... I mean, listen, I'd love to see her stretch if she wants to. I mean, there's a couple movies, like maybe her in like 20th Century Women is a little closer. Yeah.
Well, what's difficult about Suri is the fact that she has to be... She's like a Sour Patch Kid. Like, they have to be sour and sweet. Like, you know, that kind of thing. Because I have two names written down here. I have Scarlett Johansson and Kristen Bell. And, like, Kristen Bell did, like, a little harder in, like, The Good Place. Mm-hmm. Like, they tried to give her an edge, but she's still, like, so, like, likable.
Yeah, the reason that character works is because she's so inherently likable. And so, like, her awfulness, like, what she's done and... Like, on the show, you can kind of, you know, separate the two things. Love that show. But anyway, yeah, I can see Kristen Bell. That makes sense. I went with Sarah Polley. I went a little under the radar. I've been going way harder on the stars, but...
Right, you needed to get somebody else in there, so...
Okay, so who else do we got here that... did I skip over? Oh, let's go with Flame. Let's talk about Flame.
Okay, this is where I had Amy Adams.
Okay, fair. I had a few people that were running around in my head. I imagine Flame is older, but she kind of... Stuff in this book kind of makes it seem like she might be younger than I thought she was. So Amy Adams makes sense. I actually had Julianne Moore originally.
Wow.
Who I love.
Now, hang on.
I actually originally had Glenn Close. That's definitely too old. I love Glenn Close, but that's definitely too old. So I'm downgrading to Julianne Moore. I'm not ready to go all the way to Amy yet.
Okay, all right. Were you thinking the same thing I was, that like Flame, her name Flame, she probably has red hair?
It definitely struck me. And I also thought specifically when it comes to Julianne Moore, she can play that kind of uneasy feeling where you're like, I want to trust this person, but there's something about her. I mean, literally, it's kind of typecasting. She kind of literally plays that character in the Hunger Games movies, now that I think of it. But I'll stick with Julianne Moore. So, all right, let's talk about... We'll get into the heavy hitters in a second. Let's talk about Donna, who's, again, I kind of thought was roughly in the same age range as Ferris and Roan, but is apparently older. She has gray hair and shit, apparently, as described in this book. But you know what? Whatever. I'm just going in. Kristen Stewart, my girl. Let's do it. Her and Curran don't have many scenes together, so you can't get that classic Eisenberg-Stewart chemistry going. But I figured, you know, you got one of them, you should have the other. And I love Kristen Stewart.
Well, I went with somebody maybe a little more age appropriate. I still think a little younger than what Donna should be, but I went with Ann Dowd of The Leftovers.
You think Donna's that old?
She's not that old. Like,
I'm not saying Ann Dowd's like crazy old, but Ann Dowd's like in her 50s, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
I certainly didn't think of her as like an old woman, like in her 60s or 70s.
I would say Donna. Okay, Okay, 50s, 60s is where I
Okay,
picked Donna.
Ann Dowd is one of the greatest actors in the world, so I'm fine with it. I'll switch mine to Margot Martindale. There you go, from The Americans. All right. Speaking of the leftovers, Solace. Who you got for Solace?
Solace, I have. I had a hard time with this one. I feel like we know nothing about this
Certainly
character.
nothing about the way she
This
looks. I just decided she's cool and badass, so I'm picking someone. So.
Okay, I picked Elizabeth Moss for this.
Oh, I love Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she rules. Okay, I went with Regina King.
Okay,
So
all right.
one of the coolest people on Earth, so I figured that would be give Solace the proper gravitas. All right, so
All right. Who are we down to?
We got Trevor, we got Ferris, and Roan. I think that's it.
Okay, Ferris and Roan are the two biggest
We'll talk about
ones.
those last. And I have incredible casting for them. Trevor.
Okay.
Trevor. Now, Trevor's 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This was a struggle for me because, again, I know no 13-year-old actors. In fact, guess what? I don't even have this actor's name. But I want to hear yours first because you said you really struggled with this.
I struggled with this one. So, I was thinking if this was cast in 2005, funny casting for this could be Michael Cera. Michael Cera could be interesting casting.
Old even then.
But, probably. But, as a modern casting, I picked the rapping little brother from the movie The Visit.
Oh, I like that.
I don't know the kid's name either.
That.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Because he can be a little shit.
I love The Visit.
And that's...
That rules. That's
M. Night Shyamalan, great. Classic.
All right. Well, I picked, again, don't know the guy's name. I picked Henry from The Americans.
Oh, that's a very good.
Which I think he's too old now, probably.
Oh, without a doubt.
I think he's in high school in the last season, so it doesn't work really. But I couldn't think. I was like racking my brain to think of any teenage boy actors. Like I don't have any of them in my head.
Yeah, that was like me. I was like, what other than Stranger Things?
Yeah, like I didn't want to just go with a Stranger
like...
Things kid. That's the other thing. I know those kids, obviously, but like, you don't want to just. That feels very stock. So
right,
and
exactly.
You know what? I went stock for the top two, but I'm curious what you got because you picked.
Okay.
You cast it as if it was 05, right? So Ferris,
right?
And
I casted this as.
Do you want to do Roan first and then lead up to Ferris, or do you want to reveal them together? Since they're a couple, as we know.
I'll reveal them together, but I'll reveal Roan first. All right.
All right.
Roan, as in this is 2005. Okay. This actor, he's got a lot going on right now at this point in time. Probably wouldn't have time to even make this movie in 2005. But I picked Orlando Bloom.
Okay.
And then
because he's
Ferris,
probably already shooting the Pirates sequels at that point.
Exactly, and and then for Ferris. For 2005, this actor might be a little old for this role, but I think he'd bring strength to it. I picked Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Yeah, he actually... I think he'd be the right age in 05. He's too old now.
Yeah.
But, 05, that's right after Mysterious Skin, and right before Brick, I think.
Actually, Brick came out in 2005.
Came out in
2006,
no matter what IMDb says. The fact that it showed at one regional festival, whatever. It came out in 06. I don't know why I get so mad about that, but I do.
Well, it's funny you say that because I went on a list on IMDb of movies from 2005 because I had the hardest time thinking of actors who were like Hayden's age around that time, So that's how I just was going through a list, and that's where I saw Brick. Oh, okay, Brick was 2005.
We're talking early to mid 20s here. So
yeah.
All right, I'm going with present day. Roan.
I can't wait for this.
Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, all right. That's very good casting for that role.
And Ferris. Lucas Hedges, my dude.
Who's that?
You know who Lucas Hedges is? He was in Manchester by the Sea. He's in Lady Bird. He's in. He was in that Jonah Hill movie. He was in. He's been in tons of stuff. He's in that drug addiction thing with Julia Roberts. Ben is back or whatever. Yeah.
Don't know that either.
You know him. He's been nominated for like an Oscar and shit. Like he's not an obscure actor. I promise you, our listeners know who he is.
I'm sure he's not.
He's in Lady Bird. He played the gay boyfriend in Lady Bird.
Okay, all right. I can see this now. Him as Ferris, yeah.
And
he's
like
an interesting
him and
looking guy.
Timothée Chalamet feel like they're like kind of the rising, like young, like fuckboys, you know. So I feel like they deserve. Hopefully in a more
open environment.
Yes. Yeah, I hope in a more wholesome way, but they're like the fucking Leo and Toby of this era, I feel like. So, all right, so.
Well, that was fun. I'm glad we did that.
Late 90s, Leo and Toby would have been a good pick for that.
Yeah, it would have been good. Those two would have been good together. Wait, who would have been who?
Leo's got to be Ferris. I mean, Leo's the leading. He's the leading.
You think?
Man.
That's true. You can't put him in the corner. So.
Yeah.
Now what if you did? Oh! I know the perfect mid-90s casting. Matt and Ben.
Absolutely. Lucas Hedges looks so much like Matt Damon. and obviously Ferris would be Matt. And Ben
right, Matt Damon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it has to be that. There's no way Ben is Ferris. No way.
Oh, boy. And, go all the way back, late 60s, it's going to be, Robert Redford and Paul Newman. They're too old even at that point, but I don't care.
They're still playing the role.
Why not? People played younger back then. People would play. Yeah. All right. So.
Yep.
This was a lot of fun. We should try to do this.
It was a lot of fun
with something else. Maybe we'll do it with Galaxy of Fears.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Although
we should do Galaxy of Fears. The kids is the hardest part. Yeah.
Wow.
Which that's unless we casted it in a certain era.
And we'd have to cast it 80s. In our era, when we were that age. Well, when in sometime in the 90s, early 2000s maybe. But
that could work.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We should do Galaxy of Fear for sure. The next couple weeks. This was a lot of fun. So,
yes,
all right. When we get back, we're going to talk about the next Last of the Jedi book, which is Against the Empire, number 8. So please stay tuned. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here, as always, with Levi Peretic.
Hello.
All right, this week, Last of the Jedi, number 8, Against the Empire. Now, Last of the Jedi is coming off a hot streak. We're talking
it's a 3 twin midi-chlorians, so really 6 conceived in midi-chlorians.
It's like fucking where Martin Scorsese in the 80s. It's like it's like Jude is Marty in the 80s, and we're Siskel and Ebert is what I'm saying.
Six thumbs up.
Yeah. Anyway, is this going to be Jude's Color of Money? Where it's it's still very good, but just not quite there. Not quite on that level. I'm afraid it might be. That's how I feel about it anyway.
It kind of is. It's still very... It's good.
Still
we'll get into
good.
It.
We'll get to the rating. You're going to be like, well, the rating he gave it is still incredible, apparently. But our stupid rating system, it's a step down. So anyway, let's jump in. So we left off... Roan had been murdered by Vader, and this sends Ferris spiraling. Ferris then accepts potential training from Sheev Palpatine in exchange for his freedom, not to be imprisoned, basically. And then Trevor, because Loon, who is Astri's son, has been taken to the Imperial Naval Academy because stormtroopers saw him doing Force shit. Astri is very distraught. Trevor agrees to enroll at the academy in order to save Loon. So that's where we're leaving off there.
Right,
basically.
and the book literally picks up right there with Trevor's first day at the academy. He's got a teacher, a guy by the name of... it starts with an M. It's in my notes somewhere. Come on, we just both read this book.
What's
Magus.
his name?
Magus. So
By
Magus
the way,
is
Magus, wonderful character. We'll get into it.
Yeah. So he's got this dude Magus. There's this dude on his ass, Kestrel, who is another recruit who's just giving him a hard time. And Trevor, he finds out that he gets, in his first day, he gets 15 demerits. And if he gets 50 demerits, he's going to the spice mine. So that's where he starts off. He's got to find Loon. It hasn't happened yet. Then we jump to Ferris, who is now in charge of finding the Force sensitive. He's got
and he's going to meet with the new Inquisitor,
Hydra.
And so Ferris is still being a double agent though. Like, he hasn't just turned to the dark side. Like, the end of the last book kind of implies that maybe he is, but he's kind of thinking like, oh well, maybe all these Jedi who died, like I can be the one Jedi who learns from the dark side, uses it conveniently to take out Vader, and then I'll still be a Jedi and I'll be fine.
Yeah,
that's kind of his thinking, and so he's still working with the Resistance movement, and they they gotta rescue Amy. They gotta rescue Amy, who, remember, got captured in the raid during the last book. So they organize this plan where they're gonna dig tunnels underground into the area to try to free her before she's transported to a prison world of some sort. And Flame is like, you guys, I get it if you don't trust me, but if you don't trust me, you gotta just let me go.
I got bigger things to do.
So she's like, if you want me to be involved, like, I'll stick around, but like, if you don't, then I need to get out of here. And so basically everybody's like, I do trust her, and the only person who's kind of like, I don't know if I trust this person still, is Clive.
Because he's still got this suspicion that he knows her from somewhere. She seems too familiar. So
during all this, basically Flame is involved. This is her final test for the 11 on Balassa, is that they're going to involve Flame at least tangentially with this mission. Make sure she's going to have to take some level of risk in the mission, and that'll be the test.
Right.
So they start digging these tunnels, and then Clive.
Clive that's 11's plan. Yeah.
That's the 11's plan. Clive's like, I need to go because he thinks he recognizes her from his homeworld. What's his homeworld called?
I couldn't tell you. I don't have it written down.
Okay, so his homeworld. All right. So he's like, I'm going to go back to my homeworld and deal with some business, basically to investigate, see if he can figure out who.
Is it his homeworld? I don't think it's his homeworld. He goes to Acer. Is it Acerin? Not Acerin.
I thought they were both. Like, I thought it's her homeworld for sure.
It's her homeworld, and it's also Toma and Reyna's homeworld.
That's what it was. But anyway, so he goes there. So that's one strain of the book, and then the other strains are Ferris is kind of working both sides still,
right?
But he's clearly trying to figure out a way out, while also figuring out a way to get his revenge on Darth Vader.
Right, and then we also have the Trevor strain, and then there's some, we have some very characters that, like, we get these one-off chapters from characters' point of view, which is kind of interesting. I know we get a Solace chapter, we also get a Bog.
We got a Flame chapter.
We got a Flame chapter, yeah. So that's very fun. I like how these books are structured.
Sorrow.
One of the big things is Ferris gets his first lesson from Sheev in the dark side. Yes. And Sheev, he brings him into a room, he appears as a hologram, and he's just like, the first lesson is simple. Give in to your hate. and Ferris gives into his hate, and he uses the Force to just tear the room apart. He's so angry about Roan that his feelings for Roan are what fueling all this hate. And later on, he meets up with Solace, Rygal, and I guess it's... Who else is with them? There's somebody else with them. I can't remember who.
Solace, Rygal, and...
is it Clive?
No, Clive is off on his own.
Right.
It's one of the other ones. Keats, maybe. One of the other people.
Anyway, they meet up. This is where the Solace chapter is. And they get to Balassa. Ferris is leaving Balassa to go to Coruscant. And Ferris is like, oh, I gotta go, I gotta get to the garrison at this certain time, but she knows it's a lie, and the entire time she also knows that there is a dark energy surrounding Ferris, and even Rygal notices it too, but they both know that Ferris lies to them about going to this garrison. That's not what's happening, but there's a reason why he lied, because he's going to visit Roan's family, which is a big chapter right at the beginning. So
yeah, this is a big deal. So Ferris is visiting Roan's family, and Roan's family includes his mother. What's his mother's name?
Let me get there. I thought I had this marked. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. They are Roan's mother is Enna, and his dad's name is Elixir. Elixir, yeah. It's a funny name.
And so they tell him, he recounts what happened with Vader. They tell him he can't blame himself. You know, they clearly view him kind of as
part of the family.
Of the family. So the other person there is someone that Ferris hasn't seen in quite a long time, who is Roan's little sister, who apparently just got back from college. Some sort of medical school. What's her name? Her
name is, I want to say it's like Maya or something like that.
It's definitely Mallory. It's Mallory.
Mallory, that's it. Yep.
So he sees Mallory. They haven't seen each other in a long time. They kind of strike up a conversation. They're and she's telling him about how when she graduated, there was a big new medical facility being built that she didn't want any part of, this Empire facility that was turning away any non-human patients. Well,
what's funny about this hospital is this hospital was apparently named...
Oh, this is very funny.
This is very funny. It was named Chan Pal, was the name of the hospital before, but when the Empire took over, she renamed it to Empal, Empal, Emperor Palpatine. Such a funny name for a hospital. It's honestly like one of the funniest things Jude's written in a while, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the goofier moments of a Jude book, maybe ever. Honestly, it's just wild. Like, this is not a huge shot at Jude, but it would not be out of place in a Jedi Prince book.
Exactly.
It was very funny. So
Empal Hospital.
She refused to work there, but Ferris his mind starts working, and he's just like, okay, like, and the reason that what they're doing there is some sort of they're doing some sort of surgeries on people involving, mechanical
prosthetics,
that kind of stuff. So that makes him remember what he's read about Vader, what he suspects about Vader. So he's like, okay, well, can you actually maybe get that job? And it'll be a way to get revenge on Vader for what happened to Ferris. And she's just like, that's all you had to say, my guy. And so she does it, and and so then Ferris departs. But I think him touching base here with this family, this kind of surrogate family, it was important for Ferris for where he ends up at the end of the book. So.
I agree. And that's of course after he has his dark side rage moment too. So, and one of the things too is he realizes in this. Well, I don't think he realizes this in this book, but he knows the key to defeating Vader is knowing who Vader is. He has to figure out Vader's identity before anything else. So that's kind of his goal. Ferris also goes to meet with Hydra, Inquisitor Hydra, and he gives him a list of Force-sensitive, basically reports that the Empire has had of possible Force-sensitive people. And Ferris, he looks at the list and he goes, okay, great. So, and then Hydra's like, oh, I'm coming with you, you know. But Ferris, he's got these plans. Okay, I got to save these Force-sensitive people. I got to get them to my asteroid. He's looking at the list. List includes like a pilot, a bounty hunter, and a kid on Alderaan. He completely writes that one off. We'll get into
like
that one
later.
Like a baby
on Alderaan, like a toddler.
We'll get into that one later.
That'll come up near the end of the book. But, so, let's actually flash over to Trevor quick and catch us up there, because Trevor is at the Naval Academy. He encounters, what's the boy bully's name?
His name is Kestrel.
Kestrel, right. And so this kid, like, is being a shithead. He's giving him demerits and all this kind of shit. And if you get 50 demerits in your first week, you're kicked out. And by kicked out, you know, they'll send you to a mining colony or some shit. So, he's a little worried, and then he meets, like what the guy you mentioned earlier.
The teacher, Magus. And then, of course, he has his first class with Magus. And then he meets
Magus, and Loon is in his class. Even though Loon is younger than him, which is kind of surprising. So, they automatically kind of team up in a piloting exercise, and they crush Kestrel.
Yes.
And but then they get demerits because they're cheering and that was
Trevor yelled.
Show emotion.
Trevor yelled "woo" at some point, and Magus is like, "No."
All that shit. No, it's a big no. So, and then in the meantime. What's going on with Loon and what's going on with... This is interesting. There's a chapter with Sano Saro where he's contacted by Vader. Because Sano Saro is kind of the administrator in charge of the Academy. And
right.
So Vader contacts him and he's like, my guy, I need one of these kids to take part in an experiment. Just pick one. And so Sano goes down and tells this to Magus... But Bog Davinian is there visiting. He's going to visit Loon, and Bog's like, "Well, I volunteer my own incredible child, Loon, to be the kid." So that settles that. They take Loon, and then this is the other thing actually, because Loon and Trevor, in the middle of the night, try to steal a ship to escape. They're caught by Magus, right?
Yes.
And Magus is like, well, get, what's his face? Loon has to go anyway. His dad's here for him. You're going to go back to your room. So Trevor's beating himself up about this, and Loon is off to go with Bog to meet Darth Vader. So
yes. And this is something I'll go into this chapter too. We have a Darth Vader chapter, and in the Darth Vader chapter, we find out what Jenna Zan Arbor is up to. And Jenna Zan Arbor, she's working on a process to wipe specific memories from brains. Not just completely brainwash somebody, but to be able to target specific memories and wipe them from a person's memory. And Vader is intrigued by this.
Sunshine situation.
Exactly. And Vader's intrigued by this, and this is very interesting character development from Vader here. I like where she's going with this. Vader, in his quest to just rid himself of love, wants to have Padme wiped from his mind. She's too painful, and he needs her gone. That's...
Yeah, this is fucked up. But,
and
this was a good...
basic...
Yeah.
He secures funding for Jenna Zan Arbor, but she needs human test subjects. So this is where Loon comes into play.
So, should we get back to something going on with Ferris?
We should. We should say that in the most inconsequential part of this story, Amy is saved.
All right.
From her captors, with the help of 11 and all the supporters, they make crowds, so it's easy for them to get through. She's saved. There's not a whole lot of drama there.
But that proves that Flame, to most of them, proves her trustworthiness.
Yes, because she comes in and saves the day at the last minute.
And Clive is off on the one planet, her home planet, investigating. Yeah. So he meets up with these two people that had been arrested with her before, right?
Wait, no. They are. There's a character by the name of Vera, right, who was Toma's contact.
That's what it was.
Vera worked with Flame, and Toma was Vera's friend, and so like that's how he thinks he can trust Flame.
Right.
And anyway, so he gets there. Vera's dead. He meets Vera's brother and her sister-in-law. They talk about Flame. They have a suspicion as to who Flame is. They don't know for sure.
I think it's this one woman who is the scion of a ship company.
A starship builder. So that would explain why she's so good as a pilot
and why she's so rich, obviously. So
and her possible name is Eve Yarrow. And why they think they can trust her is because Flame got arrested and she busted out of Imperial prison, but with 5 other like resistance members of Asarin or whatever. However, of those 5, only one was still alive.
So they go to see this guy, and when they see him, he's already dead. And like now, the other thing to remember is Asarin is in the middle of a civil war, so there's enough doubt here that like it's not just purely shady. Like it could be just a coincidence, but this doesn't quell Clive's suspicions at all. He's like, oh boy, I don't know. So that's what he finds out. So he comes back to Balasa. Ferris, actually no, to Coruscant, right?
Yeah,
so
he goes to
everybody
Coruscant.
kind of congeals at Coruscant by the end of this book. So basically, Loon is taken by Bog to Vader. And Genazan Arbor, and Bog just happens to be like, oh, well, what kind of experiment is this anyway? And Genazan Arbor tells him about something about erasing memories, and he's just like, I don't know if I want to screw with the mind.
My like, kid's brain, I don't want to screw with that.
Bog is like showing some humanity here. And so,
and Vader's right there, and Vader twists him because Vader's just like, oh, but you could use this to get rid of memories of the boy's mother, and then Bog is just like, ooh,
I don't have to deal with Astra anymore. Anyway, so there's that, and then, oh man, okay, so how did Ferris and all these people wind up there?
Okay. So Ferris goes to the hospital where Mallory is working. She gets him a job in Archive, working the night shift with a character by the name of
This
Jacko
is all on Coruscant,
Hall.
by the way. The hospital's on Coruscant. Everything.
Yeah, he's at MPAL.
MPAL, yeah.
Just made me think of like a TV, like a hospital drama TV series. MPAL.
ER
all right.
So good.
ER is dope. Anyway, he has his coworker. Ferris is going through the archives there. The dude falls asleep. So this is when Ferris, he can't find any information on Vader there, but he decides to look elsewhere. Also, his coworker, Jacko Hall Lesser, he tells a legend. He says MPAL is haunted, and this is where he said. This is I have a little.
Love that this legend developed in like a year and a half.
I know, yeah. It happened a year ago, he said, lowering his voice to a ragged whisper. Near the end of the Clone Wars, a scream was heard. A scream so terrible and so loud, it echoed throughout the building and made the sensors go crazy. It was said that one med worker lost his hearing. permanently. The med workers searched and searched for the source of the sound, but there was nothing. There was only a handful of patients at the time. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, but no patient had done it. Jacko's voice had lowered to a whisper. It was though all the dead of the Clone Wars had screamed their death cries at the same time and then went back to being dead. So, I took that as the scream Anakin screams as he's being transformed into Darth Vader. So, and that also leads to the fact that at the tippy top of Empal is apparently a storage area, and Ferris, who's looked at the blueprints, knows there is no way that's a storage area. So he climbs up there. He sees Jenna Zan Arbor, doesn't see who's with her, decides to go find a terminal to try to, get the files on Darth Vader. As he's going there, he stumbles upon Darth Vader, who just is standing in the middle of a room.
He's down a few levels from where Ferris is.
Yeah, and Ferris is up on a walkway. The room is floor-to-ceiling weapons, ancient weapons. Vader is standing in the center of this room just holding a Sith holocron. We don't know anything else that's going on about that. But Ferris, he finds a terminal, he breaks the code of the coded files, all the information he needs is there to defeat Vader. And this is where he's got, I could take Vader, I got him. I don't got him if he's holding a Sith holocron, I'm screwed if he's got a Sith holocron, he's draining power from it. But now that I got this information. However, his Jedi training comes into play here, and he remembers, looking at Jenna Zan Arbor, he noticed a small child with her. He didn't get a good look at the child, but she had a child with her, and he
remember he interacted with Jenna Zan Arbor way back in, I believe it's
Jedi.
It might have even been Legacy, not Legacy of the Jedi. It's the last Jedi quest book. That's what it was. When he left, right his final mission as a Padawan.
Right.
Yeah.
Jenna Zan Arbor had that whole thing with Gren Omega. So anyway, so he decides. His conscience gets the better of him. He's like, I have to go back. He goes back. It's Loon. He's like, oh, well, I have to save Loon.
Thankfully, the other person in the room is a lab assistant who's a Belasan scientist who's obviously been conscripted into service here. And
she was on Balasa, and she was the one who helped Trevor escape. And she also has a name, because we also find out Rygal was looking. Part of his mission, his secret mission, was to find a missing scientist, and that missing scientist is Lina. She's with Loon
I
there.
Forgot. Yeah, Rygal. If you guys remember, Rygal was True Veld's master, and last book we talked about this, but he was during Order 66. He was off on a mission in the Outer Rim that only Yoda knew about. And so, he had no clone troopers, so he found out about all this later. Somebody helped, these two scientists helped him kind of get along, but they were then conscripted by the Empire.
Yes.
So he's trying to find them, including, what's her name? Lina, right?
Yes.
So
Lina, I don't know her last name.
Anyway, so Ferris uses a mind trick to get Jenna Zan Arbor to double check something, leave the room. So he then gets Loon and Lina, who wants to go with him. So then they rush out to. They're escaping, and let's actually jump over quick to Trevor. Because Trevor then is out kind of at the school, and he's in solitary confinement. But then what's his name? Magus.
Well, Trevor blows his way out of solitary confinement. He's got those alpha charges on him. He's a little pyromaniac, and he blows his way out. He runs back to the hangar, and Magus is just sitting there. And, Magus has been chopped up as a villain at this point, but now he's just Magus is broken. He's just I taught at, one of the most elite academies, and then the Empire closed it, and they offered me a job, and I took it. But you know what I found out now? If I quit this job, I get blacklisted and can never, the Empire blacklists me and I'll never be able to teach again. My life is ruined because of the Empire. And then Trevor's just like, well, do you want to leave? And Magus is like, yeah, let's go.
So they escape, and the other kid, the shithead, what's his name?
What is that shithead's name? His name is Kestrel.
Kestrel. He tries to stop them, and like he's trying to impress Magus, and Magus is just like, I don't care, go away. Like I'm out of the Empire. Like this was a very fun turn. I was not expecting this at all. Like this came out of this was a nice surprise. So then they take an Imperial ship, and they're escaping, and Magus is like, I'll drop you off somewhere, but then I'm going. Like, I'm not getting involved in anything. So Trevor's like, well, drop me off up at the Jedi Temple, which is where all this shit's happening, because that's where Loon is, because he's got him. So then he goes
Well, Empal, which is in Empal, the hospital is near the Jedi Temple, which is near the senatorial complex.
He has to go to where, Magus kind of knows where Loon is, so he goes to drop him off there, and so then... So then, at this exact moment, Ferris and Loon and Lina, like, there's some reason, I'm trying to remember.
The way I pictured it was they're on, like, an extended walkway, and, like, that's, like, in the air, like, it adjoins, like, two buildings or something. It's, like, an covered walkway, and directly below them is the landing platform, 1,000 meters down, and they're cornered on both sides by stormtroopers and seeker droids and whatnot. So, like, Ferris is just like, we have to jump, and Lina is just like, I can't do it, obviously, I'm not a Jedi, and she's like, alright, well, I guess I'm not going, and then she runs off, and then Ferris and Loon then cut a hole in the window and they jump out for the landing platform. Basically, they're falling through the sky. At one point, they use their liquid cable launcher to grab onto something to help break their fall. They end up swinging in the air. Down on the landing platform are stormtroopers with missile launchers, and then Trevor, who just so happens to be at the right place at the right time, convinces Magus to swoop in, scoop the two of them up, and they fly off. And they get Loon
and they get
out
away.
of Bog's clutches again, and they get away.
So, and then everybody goes back to Dexter Jettster's hideout on Coruscant. Astri's reunited with Loon. Magus is going to be set up by Dexter with a new identity. And everything seems to have calmed down a little bit. So
yes,
and Ferris is finally out of the clutches of the Empire. He's back just full time with the Resistance. So,
right. And Clive here, we have an interesting moment with Clive. Clive confides. Too. Yes, he confides into Astri that he doesn't trust Flame, and he tells her what he found out, and she's just like, well, I don't know if I trust you. And he's like, I only trust two people, Ferris and you. Like, he tells her that, and then she's like, all right, I'll help you.
Clearly,
so that's
there's something going on there.
There's something going on there. Loon may have a stepdad by the end of this, so we'll see.
So anyway... and then the book ends with Ferris alone contacting an old friend. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He's on the cover of this book. He looks a little bloated. I don't know if you can name it.
Yeah.
He's a little bloated here.
Bloated for a guy that's living probably on barely any food on Tatooine.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So thanks, Druzen, for bloated Obi-Wan. But anyway, he contacts Obi-Wan. He tells him what's going on. Obi-Wan mostly doesn't agree with what he's saying, or what he's been up to. But he mentions, oh, I got this list. There's like a pilot and a bounty hunter and a kid on Alderaan. I think I'm going to go after the bounty hunter. And Obi-Wan is just like, no, you must go squash the Alderaan thing.
Yeah, he's like, you have to go pretend to investigate it, and then tell them it's nothing. And Ferris is confused by this. Obi-Wan can't tell him anything else. And Ferris is frustrated by it, but he goes along with it. He's like, I'm obviously going to go. And this obviously sets up the next book, which has Bail Organa on the cover and Leia.
It sure does.
I mean, Leia, 2-year-old Leia, apparently looked exactly like she did at 19. Heads up to Struzen for that.
Yep.
Shit. Okay. So,
bless you.
So that's where this book ends. Leaves a very intriguing setup for next book. I think the next book is a very high candidate for a conceived in midichlorians thing.
It could be.
It does have Bail Organa, our boy.
That's all you need. Bail Organa showing up. It could be.
So we'll see. This book, like I alluded to at the beginning, I think it's a bit of a step down from the last 3. It's not like it's a little more all over the place. It's kind of just by virtue of what it is, which is kind of like clearly like we need to wrap up. We need to get Ferris. It has to achieve so many goals. We have to save Loon. We have to get Trevor out of the academy. We have to get Ferris out of the clutches of Palpatine and out of the clutches of the dark side. Not just like all of it. Like it has to do so much. And I think it does it all very compellingly. It's still a very good book. It's just not. It's not among. It won't be in my top 5 when we end the show. The way that maybe all 3 of the previous books might be.
Yeah, I know, right?
So this one is just a 10 out of 10.
I agree. It's 10 out of 10. It's still quality as much as we are acting like we don't like it.
Oh, it's
it
incredible book.
Well, the scene. Well, I give it a 10 out of 10 for the scene alone where Ferris goes to visit Ron's parents, and anytime, and Ferris here too is something we haven't talked about. Is like how Ferris is like he's open to the dark side, but he's still struggling with it. That Jedi in him like won't fully let him get into it.
There's some really good stuff near the end where he fully kind of re-embraces the light. It's a good kind of counterbalance to Anakin. Like he continues to be a great foil for Anakin because he's kind of presented with almost the exact same choice that Anakin is, and he goes the other way. He struggles with it.
Yes,
he's not like perfect, but he goes the other way. He goes the right way.
Yep.
So it's possible, Annie. But Annie, he eventually made the right decision after murdering millions of people. So.
Yes. It took a while.
Took him a bit. Anyway. All right. So, next week, though, we're not going to be able to get to Master of Deception, Book 9, next week, because we got a Galaxy of Fear break coming up.
The Swarm. Which has Thrawn on the cover, a very squinty Thrawn.
That's very interesting, very exciting. So we're going to discuss that book next week, and then the next week we're going to do 9 and then 10, and we'll be done with Last of the Jedi and basically the Jude Watson era. So we got big episodes coming up. We're gonna blow it out for those episodes, and we're gonna do a wrap up. So there's gonna be 3 classics in a row.
On Wikipedia this week, I had a spoiler. A Jude-verse spoiler is all I'll say.
That's about crazy because Wikipedia has such whack information about the Jude stuff. Like
I know, but I'll just say, stay away from Ferris's page. I was looking for photos of Ferris. This is where I got the Jude-verse spoiler. All right.
Don't
I won't say anything more than that. I was pissed that I got it, but at the same time, it's cool.
No.
All
right.
So
well,
that's cool.
2 more books. Wild, I can't believe it. So next week, little Galaxy of Fear fun, and then 2 more Last of the Jedis, and then we'll do our big Fear month, and then we're off for a little bit.
When should we do? We're gonna do a Last of the Jedi wrap up episode along with our Q&A.
Yeah, so I figure we'll just cut the Chewbacca and the Forest of Fear. That we
okay,
I know you were obsessed with doing that, but
we will do that. We will do that eventually. We'll see about that.
We'll see. We'll talk about this scheduling off air. So anyway, join us next week for Galaxy of Fear. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Padawan Library. Email us for that mailbag episode at padawanlibrary@gmail.com. And everybody just chill out, have fun.
Yeah,
enjoy your life. Try to enjoy your life.
All right, until the books are due back.
The library is closed.
Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Peretic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by the Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Copyright 2020, Tim May and Levi Paratic, all rights reserved.